recording. So we left off last meeting. We had kind of went over the second survey results, which we got 107 responses as of last meeting, which is a lot less than the first survey. So the first survey, we got about 340 responses. That was for the areas of need. The second survey was for the proposed director qualifications and reporting requirements for the department. Both of those surveys are going to be used to outline proposed legislation to further define the department in the county code. So that's what we've kind of been working on. The next portion that we're working on right now is kind of putting forward from those areas of need and from the feedback from the community, the projects, programs, or initiatives that would make the most impact within the first 5 years. So that will be a survey that we'll put out to the community to ensure that, yes, they agree with that. And from that, we can do a strategic plan. And from the first year of the strategic plan, we can do a proposed first year budget for the department. So that's, you know, outlining community supported areas of need, qualifications, reporting requirements, and proposed projects, initiatives, and programs for the department to work on, basically so that the administration isn't having to go into this blind without the community support, without like the community knowledge of what they should go after first, what's going to make the most impact. So that's kind of where we are through that process. The mayor also initiated a group of his own to kind of gain feedback. And that was being facilitated by Carrie Capoy. So during that process, she reached out and said, I heard you guys are doing a similar group. Let's work together. So I met with her once in person, and we kind of just talked about like what the purpose of our community group was, how it got started, and what the goals were. And she was like, I think that's really great. I think this is a really good way to build a bridge, work together, you know, get as much feedback as possible. So it was really awesome to talk to her and get to know her. And then I went to one more meeting where she had some folks from the state and things, and basically they were jotting down ideas. So she sent over, I'll just go through this now so that you guys can have time to go through all the water stuff and we don't have to skip back around. So I'm going to share my screen. So this is the first draft that she had sent over. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Oh, this isn't the first draft. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna try and find the first draft. I apologize. Sorry, I'm not like super on my game tonight because I don't feel very well. Here we go. Here it is. That's not ready to go. Okay, here it is. I apologize for bearing with me. Okay, so this was the first draft that they sent over. And like I had told the group before, it was very business centric as far as the goals and stuff. So these were the goals that they had. So these were kind of some of the things that she included from our areas of need, and as well as the information she got back from their group. So they did include like research and education and workforce development. They tried to go into some detail about it, advocacy, resource development and deployment, and then, you know, like business support. But then when you go down to the goals, they were like, these weren't things that necessarily were talked about, but they're not bad. And then these were the requirements that they wanted to put forward and the position. So it would have just been the director, deputy director, and grant writer for the initial positions. So this is a draft, so don't judge on like spelling and stuff for her. This is just what she sent over. And then from that, I kind of just took, can you see now? Did it switch?
You can see the mission statement and goals.
Okay, yeah, so I took theirs and I added some bells and whistles just to kind of, I found that when working with some people in leadership, if you kind of talk about how it can make them seem as a leader, it can help boost their motivation to do things. So that's kind of why I put that in the beginning, to kind of help him visualize what this department could actually be, you know, not just for his career, but for the community as well. The goals that I recommended to put in were just the actual outline of roles and duties that were outlined in the charter amendment. So these goals are from the charter, because I felt like those were good goals to go by. They'd already been voted on by the community, and they were really in alignment with what we were seeking from the department. For the responsibilities, instead of breaking it down how she did, I just put our areas of need that we got back with the 80 to 90% approval rates. I think there was a couple in the 70%. In here, I added the one that they had that was a little bit different, which was business support. And then instead of outlining all that in, I just did a glossary at the end with all of our breakdowns. And then for the organization, instead of just having specifically who it's going to be, recommended that a minimal staff and outline could be utilized based on the current agricultural needs. So that way we're not just going forward with 3 people, which is super minimal for a department. And then I added in the things that we had kind of said for the proposed director qualifications. So took theirs that they needed a degree. They had only said agriculture, so I added in some other things that would also be beneficial, so that it's not just so strict that the degree just has to be in agriculture. And then the managerial and budgetary experience. So these other things, the 5 years of agricultural based field work, these are things that were coming from the survey. And then also these were additional preference to be given to the applicants that possess the experience in the majority of the following areas. So this was the one that we were saying these could be like guides to like weight how qualified an applicant was. And these are also in the survey that we did. And then for the departmental staff, I put in what was already outlined in the charter. So the grant writers, ombudsman persons, inspectors, and then just put minimal additional support staffs and advocates. So that's kind of what I suggested back to her. And then what she, then these are the areas of breakdown. And then what she submitted, what I sent to you guys in the email, is what went forward to the mayor. Does anybody have any questions on that?
So
is this shareable?
Is this shareable? Right now?
The document. Yeah, their draft. Is it possible to, I'm just trying to absorb as much as I can as you're going, but.
Yeah, absolutely. So I sent the copy of the final document that she submitted to the mayor in the last email I sent you guys. It should be attached, but I can send it out again if anybody
I'll dig it up. Thank you.
Okay. So that she didn't go with the one I sent her, but she did take recommendations from it. So I just wanted to show you guys the progression of how the conversation went so that we're being completely transparent, because I believe in transparency 100%. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, so tonight we have Shane Sinensi, Councilmember Shane Sinensi, I'm sorry, and his staff member Gina Young, and then we also have Shei-Chan Hodges here. So they're going to kind of talk about what's going on with the water use and development plan and some other water issues. Just to kind of let us know where they're at, what's going on with water. I'm hoping that that will help us be able to really narrow down how the department can best address water by knowing what the current status is as we go forward with the strategic plan priorities, projects, and initiatives. Additionally, Shane was going to talk about his timeline for his committee, when he thinks they'll finish up with water issues and when they can start kind of talking about the Department of Ag stuff so that we can put the stuff that we've been working on forward to the committee to hear. So I'm going to pass it on unless anybody has any questions. And I don't know who wants to go first, Shane or Gina.
Oh, it's just Shane tonight.
Mahalo, Jen. Yep. And again, thanks for inviting me tonight. I do apologize. I wish I had more time to include myself in you guys' working group meetings. However, like Jen said, we've been head deep, I guess, into our water use development plan. We did extend it, so we're hoping to finish it up in the next couple months here. I do have some notes, so apologize if I'm kind of moving all over the place. I'm Shane Sinensi. I chair the Agriculture and Public Trust Committee. Last year, when we passed the Department of Agriculture Charter Amendment, thanks to Jen for all of her work with that, I think we achieved two very important things in agreeing to create the department. One, that we keep agriculturally zoned lands in agriculture for food production. And two, that we also reserve our important water resources for agriculture expansion and again, for food production. So right off the bat, those were the two successes of creating that Department of Agriculture. The other option was to just keep it open to further development of the entire island. So that said, I'll just quickly, I'll keep it short and broad so that we may have additional time afterwards for more specific questions if you have any. The county water use development plan is the 30-year plan. Each county sends their water use plans to the Hawaii State Commission of Water Resource Management, or CWRM. One of the CWRM's duties is to set the interim in-stream flow standards for all Hawaii streams. However, not all streams have stream gauges or normally set those gauges that are set by the USGS. So that is one of the issues we've been working on to see if we can put more stream gauges and more monitoring into whether it be East Maui streams, Haiku streams, so that we can collect better data from the streams that don't have any gauges. We've deferred the water use development plan several times, and this one is the last deferment was to the end of the year. Again, just so that we can go back and address some of the different communities that they didn't feel like the plan represented them in their communities. And just for historical context, the EMI irrigation system was built back in the late 1800s to supply sugar and pineapple plantations with East Maui surface water. Those ditches are still in operations. Those are the Lowry Ditch, the Ko'olau Ditch, the New Haiku Ditch, the Kauhikoa Ditch, and the Wailoa Ditch. Hawaiian Cane and Sugar Company ended their sugar production operations in 2016. Well, in the last 40 years prior to that, we've seen pasture lands decrease by 31% from over 1 million acres down to over 700,000 acres. And we also seen agriculture lands decrease by 57% from 350,000 to 151,000 acres. But of course, that has been due to the commercial plantation operations. In this same time, however, we've seen more interest in sustainable food security on the island, more organic food production, more farm to table practices, and more community farmers markets grow exponentially. As you know, A&B sold their farm interests, including over 30,000 acres of Central Maui farmlands to Mahipono LLC, a conglomerate of the Canadian Pension Fund. Mahipono has since created a more diversified farm plan, but has not yet shared that plan with us at the county. Part of that plan includes using pasture land for cattle grazing, and I believe also opening farm lands for local farmers as well. And an important part of the Mahipono farm plan is continuing to draw water from the old sugar plantation diversions and water system. They do this by applying to the State Board of Land and Natural Resources, requesting for water leases for surface water runoff from those streams in the over 33,000 acres of East Maui watershed areas. Over 200 million gallons of East Maui water was diverted from streams to feed sugarcane production for over 100 years, maybe more. As expected, a more diversified plan will not require the same amount of water that was used for sugarcane plant production. Our East Maui communities have been in litigations for over 15 years with the state, mainly requesting that more water be left in the streams for either kalo cultivation, cultural uses, and for riparian stream species survival. One of those requests include full and partial stream flow from Mauka to Makai for spawning purposes of local stream life, and to supply algae-rich runoff to coastal marine estuaries. Other litigation issues include the 30-year leases granted to private corporations for their profiteering accrued from this public trust, particularly without any environmental impact review. The Sierra Club of Hawaii has also joined in litigations with specific requests for more stream monitoring, data collections in the streams, decommissioning of some of the diversion infrastructure, and also addressing the excessive waste due to failing pipelines and leaking reservoir systems. In my committee meeting on Tuesday, we included the Board of Water Supply's TIG report into the appendix of the water use plan. This highlights a letter from now Congressional Representative Kai Kahele, in which he urges the County of Maui to apply for the state water leases so that we can secure a long-term agreement for the Wailoa ditch system. The Wailoa ditch system currently supplies the Kula Ag Park and any expansions of the county-owned park. So just to quickly wrap it up, I wanted to just thank Jen and all of you, this working group, for doing the important legwork, the formation of the first ever County Department of Agriculture. This is historic, and it is instigating changes at all levels of government. Besides securing food security on the island, we're also ending the plantation era of farming and moving toward a more sustainable model of agriculture. We're hoping to invest more into the State Department of Agriculture and to revisit and rewrite archaic policies that no longer serve us. This includes addressing the agriculture chapter of the county code, which still has policies rooted in the plantation system, including the proliferation of just large commercial farming only, and those policies need to be changed. Our work also needs to address the need to expand more farmlands, more water infrastructure for farming, and more processing plants on the island. So just to reiterate, this is a exciting, important time of change when we get to decide how the future of agriculture production moves forward in Maui County. So I look forward with anticipation working with all of you and establishing this Department of Agriculture. As far as our timeline, we're hoping to finish up the water use development plan by the end of the year. We're reaching out to Office of Economic Development because Member Johnson had proposed an agriculture grant writer. And so they may, we're not sure if they're gonna fill that position in-house within the department or hire outside of the department. So I think we're looking to maybe addressing the Maui Island plan chapter and inputting those goals and objectives into the Maui Island plan as one of our first meeting agendas. So, and then of course, if you guys are working on ordinances, we'll definitely propose those as well. So again, mahalo, Jen, and mahalo to this group for inviting me. Thank you.
Shane, do you have any updates like that are Molokai or Lanai specific that you could go over to? Because I think a lot of the times we hear about Maui's water stuff, but I think it's good to just get a perspective on those other islands as well too, if you have. I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't, but I was on the first meeting with the Molokai Water Use Development Plan, so they're just beginning there. They just went out to RFP, and then for the Lanai, we have an item in our community, in our committee, the Lanai Water Board. Gina, is that it?
On Lanai, it's a private system. The county they don't have a water system, it's private. But what's in our committee is a proposal to have an advisory board on water.
Thanks, Gina.
Sure.
So we can open it up to questions, Sam. Anybody that has questions? Is that okay? Go ahead, William.
Hi, Shane. Thanks for working on this. I had a couple of things running through our mind. One is with the water use development plan, is there like a concrete, solid like a drought plan?
Right. It is mentioned in the plan. And I know that in Tuesday's meeting, Eva Blumenstein, she mentioned that as there is funding for drought mitigation. And so she put it out there for groups that there is funding. I don't know if it's county funding or private funding, but she did mention that there was grant funding for drought purposes.
I was thinking more along the line of the water use and like the restrictions, during that time, and if ag can have priority, as long as they're not wasting, and maybe come up with a solid thing. The other thing was in the plan, if there's something about more storage. And I had a comment, not regarding water, but in regards to preserving ag land and food security. I'm kind of having an issue, and it's not not that I don't like the people at RPT. They're great people, but we keep hearing this ag is being subsidized and stuff like that, and really it's a zoning and a use, and it's not a subsidy. As far as I go back almost 60 years in my life, and they kind of need to get over that. It's like a crutch that we're just bleeding the system, and I think that's really wrong. And I don't know how you can convince them or whatever, but it is a concern. It really is.
Is this, William, about the just them sending out their people to look at the farm, inspectors to inspect the farms?
That's part of it, but they have every right to do that. I support that wholeheartedly. That's a need, but they need to really have people who understand what a farm is. There's so many different types of farms, especially the small ones, and it's not one farm looks the same as the other, and so that is important. But more so, they really feel that they're giving away money or losing money, but it's a use. It's not this thing about subsidy in all our farmers' opinions. And I just wanted to express that to you. Thank you.
Okay, mahalo for that. And we can follow up with the, I do see drought plan within the water use development plan. And I get that, right, this would be an important issue for upcountry farmers who now have to go on a restriction.
Yeah. If we can review that with you guys, that would be great too.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yeah, William, I'd be happy to set up a meeting to get all your input and knowledge and figure out how to work it into the plan.
Okay.
Yeah,
right
so
on.
you have my email. Just reach out to me. Yeah, and we can do a Zoom meeting if you want, or we can do Blue Jeans, whatever easiest. And then I can just take all the input and figure out where it goes.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
and then for
Okay,
those
sure.
zoning issues, I don't know if we can address that with some amendments to the code. Maybe we can address that with legislation or rewriting policies to address some of those zoning issues.
Yeah, the issue isn't really big versus more like the feeling about it.
Mm.
I
Okay.
think they're doing a pretty decent job in checking and whatnot. And the people in ag, they have to do their part too, because a lot of them getting in trouble because they don't fill out that yearly form that they need to, and that kind of starts them on the wrong foot. So they're wrong in not filling that out. It's a requirement unless you dedicate your property. But then the inspection, some inspections are kind of not too cool, and some are okay. But anyway, I don't want to bash RPT. They do a pretty good job.
Mahalo.
Thank you, Shane and Gino.
Is there any more questions? Anybody have a question?
Yeah, I have two comments. This is Jerry.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi, Shane. Aloha. So I just wanted to build a little bit on what William said, because, like our 14 acres is all in agriculture. And I think we pay $900 of taxes a year on that. And yet if it's valued at market value, it's substantially higher. So what RPT is doing is that they're calculating what the taxes would be if it was residential at full market value, et cetera. And the difference between that and agriculture is what they then consider the subsidy. And that's where the problem comes. They calculate that agriculture is subsidized to a tune of like $12 million a year in potential income that the county is losing because we're farming. Right? So there's the disconnect because it doesn't really adhere at all to the Maui Island Plan and the preservation of ag land, et cetera. So I think that's where William was coming from, and that's where we're coming from too, as farmers. We're not really being subsidized. It's a funny way to calculate some numbers on the property values and the apparent or perceived losses in tax revenue.
I see.
Yeah. So the second thing I wanted to ask you is, I love your enthusiasm about where we can go with this department and where we can go with local agriculture. It's, it's about time, right? I guess the question I have is, I understand that there's like a parallel committee for the Department of Agriculture that's residing in the administration, and it's distinct from the council. And I'm just wondering if all the great things that we're working on at the bequest of the council, if a lot of that's just going to be sort of tossed aside or ignored, or how much of the work that we're doing will make it into the final version of what the Department of Agriculture looks like from the administrative point of view. I was wondering if you could clarify that at all for us.
Well, I don't think I can clarify, but I got that impression with all of the pushback from creating a Department of Agriculture. For me, that was mind-boggling to me, that to have farmers that wouldn't support such a local support, a county Department of Agriculture. That was my first inclination, that this is not going to be an easy ride. I mean, we're going to get pushback from this, and maybe that's why you're hearing the enthusiasm, because without it, then I don't think I'd be able to move forward and to make those necessary changes that I think we have to. And so I understand, right, that this is going to be, right, there is kind of two groups of farmers, so to speak. We've got the more farmers that are more the conventional or commercial farmers. We've got more of our organic farmers. So how do we as a community move forward? I think, Jerry, by us looking at what this council has been able to do with the support of our communities, is to push legislation that can help pave the way for that. So including even getting it on the charter amendments for everybody to vote on. So I think right now this is the time where we've never seen this kind of support in history to push legislation through. So as a legislator, I think for me, that is where my work is going to be coming from, is to create those legislation, including, with the help that we have with Jen's experience, with Gina's experience, with all you guys' experience. This is where we're going to have to push at the legislative sector. Yeah.
And then the other thing to remember is that the council takes care of the budget. So when the department comes to being funded through the budget, that's where we'll have input again. So any legislation that doesn't pass or that we don't get through, when it comes to actually naming the positions, funding them, figuring out where the priorities will be, that's where council will really come in. But that's kind of at the end of the process. So it's good that all this work is being done now, but that's mostly where our role is, right, on the back end. We see the mayor's proposal.
Right, and as the council, we always get to confirmed the director of the Department of Agriculture. So those were some of the changes that happened, those steps that happened prior to us, so that we could be at this level where we're at today. I think if there were certain things that didn't go through, we wouldn't be at this point today. So I think we just need to follow, make those, if we need to push back in some areas, if we need to work whether with our state representatives at the state level. I know that's where we've seen shortage, but we're seeing a lot of changes now at the state level where all of those plantation lands that went to leases for seed companies, now, we're seeing all those changes. And so hopefully we can capitalize on the changes at all the different levels.
I just want to mention a conversation that me and Shane had too. He was talking about the things that he's seeing coming down from the state, the language that they're using, and it's very similar to the language our group is putting out, the things that we're saying in the charter and stuff. So a lot of the times when you have older systems like this, especially in government, change is not a very welcome thing. It's not encouraged. So once they see that those kinds of things have support, that they're being put forward and they are supported by the community, it feels a little bit safer for them to make those changes. So I think, one of the great things about this is that education, that being transparent, that talking, that having that community discussion about the educational portion and putting forward proposed legislation, doing this in a transparent way, that alone is already making big ripples and already changing the way people are thinking about ag. So I just wanted to add that because I thought that was really neat that Shane told me that, and I wanted you guys to know that it is getting into people. We're planting seeds in people's minds.
Yeah, and like my background in agriculture is probably my grandpa that came from the Philippines to work on the plantation back in the early 1830s. I mean, that's my from the Philippines. And then of me going to Lahaina Luna and working on the farms out in Lahaina Luna, which is now all of that has all been stopped. So, I mean, I've worked, just within my community and my family, but I'm sure, moving this forward, I do have some kind of historic precedents, at least some to draw from. But again, I can't do it. You guys have been through the ringer. William, Mr. Greenleaf, you guys have been going through the day in, day out, all the different processes and procedures. So I'm open to working with every one of you to see where we can make changes at the legislature.
Well, this is Bill Greenleaf here. I apologize for being late. I came up from Kahului where it was so hot today. Yeah, I appreciate everything that's going on. I know that as we get to the point where this charter commission actually makes these decisions and begins to move forward, that we'll have plenty of chances to change it afterwards. And the spirit of what we're doing is awesome. And I'm sorry again for being late. Did we talk about the ag park extension? Has that been brought up today? That's one of the concerns I have on my plate. And just want to let you know that, Shane, I'm not really pushing it, but I know it's something we're going to have to talk about after the director is chosen. And as we go forward, it's old business. It's business's old boys business. The ag park has been it's been a chemical ag project. And I think chemical ag and organic ag can live together. I have a lot of respect for the chemical farmers. I think they got roped into it because the government started pushing it and giving loans, and that's the way they went. And now they don't know how to do it a different way. My heart goes out to them because they're dealing with really big problems that I don't think they can solve. I hope someday they see us as a solution for some of the problems they have. But I just wanted to put that on the table, that that's a really big concern, that it's not being dealt with. The ag park that exists right now has had inconsistent meetings, non-transparency, not providing a clear agenda. So there may be some times you can give them some guidance right now before we get the director. I think Patrick's trying, but I think his hands might be a little bit handcuffed. So I wanted to add that, and it's great to see you, Shane. Really great to see you.
Thanks, Bill. And yeah, we're happy to, I believe we have Miss Barbara Berry, who's also on the Kula Ag Park board. And so, I mean, we're hoping that with her influence or with her work on the board that we can make some necessary changes. I understand that the 200 acres addition is, we did get to walk that property, and it looks like one half of the property is just one big gulch, right? And so right there on the where Pulehu Road and Oma'upio Road forks. And so it looks like probably the better farming area is further up to the right of that property. We anticipate that A and B might be open to well, selling more properties on the outsides of Oma'upio and Pulehu. However, you know, I think it's they gave us the worst piece right now, and one right in the middle. So I'm thinking they're anticipating that we would increase the value of it prior to selling the other nice areas that are already void of any rocks and ready to farm tomorrow. So we're hoping that we're looking to expand and maybe look forward to working with AMB or I think Makalea said some DHHL lands as well to increase our farming capacity. But yeah, we'll work with Patrick to see, you know, there are things about the ag park. You get a 50-year lease. I know that some of the farmers that got it were kind of advanced in age already. So if you do go up there, there's some of the properties that don't seem like it's actively being farmed. We're asking that those leasees start cleaning up some of the trash and the old you know, tractors and machinery that is still kind of on the property. So we're hoping we can address some of those things and maybe rewriting some of the plans moving forward with the new expansion.
That sounds comprehensive. Thanks, Shane. I think you touched on a lot of the really key points. The one thing that maybe you don't know yet is that when that deal was originally made, the pump is in the stream that sends the water to that area, and they made a deal to also put the pump in the pond so it could go to other areas. And that still hasn't been funded, I don't think. And there's some intention there, and I don't know who that'll benefit, but I really appreciate your idea that we can negotiate some of the other lands. And that would be excellent. That would be really amazing.
Okay, mahalo, Bill.
Mahalo, Shane.
Did anybody else have any questions? If not, we can ask Shay to present on is it the water pricing, Shane? Is that what you said?
Well, what was that, Jen?
I'm sorry, the water pricing.
You mean for agriculture pricing?
Was that,
Um,
I'm sorry, I thought that's what you said at the beginning. No,
Oh,
I'm wrong.
yeah, no, but Jen, we can follow up with some of the questions that people had brought up. Williams, about the drought plan, the RPT inspections. Also, Jerry's, I guess you're being, for your ag rates, you're being, for highest use maybe, that they're using that as far as the RPT rates. So we can look into all of those, issues in the meantime. Um, and then maybe what we can do it, since, our committee is, have access to our Office of Council Services, if we need to go ahead and address, different codes and different policies in the chapters, we can begin to request those changes be made now, and give our OCS staff some time to work on some of these changes, so that when we're done with the what up and we're ready to start forming the department, we can have all of these issues, because we don't anticipate, any other issues so far, but agriculture, once we begin the new year.
So sorry, I'm so sorry, you guys, I sound like crap. At the beginning of this process, we did do like an information dump of issues, and we were able to compile those into like a policy area of policy that needs to be changed. And there are some people that have like mentioned policy things to me. Is there a way that we could send you that list, and maybe you could get the list from OCS of ag-related policy that's in the code, so that we can take the two and review, and
Yes,
maybe work with you guys to see where we can implement those changes, so that after we put forward the code proposals for further defining the department, we can start taking those off as well, which can try to help alleviate some of the issues that the farmers and the ag sector are dealing with on a daily basis.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, let's start utilizing our OCS staff, and we can go ahead and put in the PAFs, for them to start, drafting up those policies.
Looks like Barbara raised her hand.
Yes, hi everyone. I just wanted to urge everyone to join in on the Kula Ag Park meetings. The next one is going to be November 10th, and they're 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And you can sign up to be notified of the meeting through the county site, and then they'll just send you the link. But that would be really helpful to have a lot more people interested in agriculture, farming, cattle farming, ranching, all sorts of things need to be brought up for discussion at the Kula Ag Park, because it seems like it's being underused a little bit, but I am not farming up there, so it's hard for me to say. I'd also suggest that we do a tour out there once COVID is over and we can all gather and take a look at the park. So I appreciate you guys walking the new piece of land. It seems like that would be great for workforce housing, with farming off to either side of the other two lots, lot 2 and lot 3, I believe, that were put aside at the very beginning when this particular piece was bought. So I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Barbara. Also, my office did receive correspondence from the State Ways and Means Committee. And so they'll be here, in September 20th, meeting with some of the HANA Farm Union workers, And then I believe they're also meeting with, I don't know if it's Mahipono, but again, we're hoping to maybe meet with them when they're here on the island to talk about the CEDS program. And again, hopefully to see if there's any funding from the state that we can access.
And then I just have one more question. So as we're doing this work for the strategic plan for from the council member perspective, how detailed should we be on that plan? Like as we price it out and things, should we be listing specific like number of employees to tackle these things? Is that something that OCS can help with? Is that something you would expect from us as a group to kind of get those numbers down to be able to address the issues on each island? Or are you just looking at like specific projects and programs in the first year and like a ballpark range?
I think more information would be better, but you know, and again, I wouldn't expect you guys to do all of the work. But I'm already appreciative that you guys have done this, you know, this amount and level of collaboration. So I'm thankful for that.
Jerry?
Yeah, I had a question for Shane about the CEDS, the CEDS. For those not acronym savvy, it's the Community or the County Economic Development Strategy, and it gets renewed every 5 years. We're just coming up to, well, I guess this is 2021, isn't it? So I think the one that we did in 2016 is pretty well POW. I wasn't aware that it was a requirement for or dealt with or made us any funding from the state particularly available. The last CEDS program that I was involved in, as I understood it, mostly made us eligible for a significant amount of federal funding, which we actually let slide. I don't think we really did much with it. So I was wondering if I could get clarification on that, if that's something that the state could help us with some of the priorities identified in there.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry, for that question. And yeah, I just received an email. I see Makalea is on the call, and I just was curious if Makalea at the administration's office, did you guys receive the same email from Stacy at the Ways and Means Committee?
No, I personally did not. So.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
All right, and
Jerry, what's that all about?
Right, and so well, we understand that the committee has is looking to meet with me, I guess, since we're creating the Department of Agriculture. So we're gonna go ahead and meet with Stacy on the 20th and the 22nd to see where, you know, let's start making those connections at the state level, particularly with the Ways and Means. But that's all I know, Jerry, of the CEDS program. But it's continuing that program, and I can keep you guys posted.
That would be great, because one of the workshops that I went through that Tulsi Gabbard organized on the behalf of Maui County, we had members of the different federal agencies there talking about how we would be eligible for funding different programs with them, providing that we had a CEDS strategy, a white paper put together. And in 2016, there was a white paper put together, and you can get that online. And the two things that seem to be front and center from the 2016 meetings that we had, and the eventual report was help for our slaughterhouse facilities here, which I think any rancher on the island knows we're in pretty tough straits that way. And also some sort of municipal composting facility / improving local fertility. And the funding that was available at the time through the Economic Development Administration, EDA, and I might have what the letters stand for wrong, but the fellow who was here said you could actually apply for up to about $3 million in capital, which is not insignificant. So anytime that we hear from the administration that composting or something like that's too expensive, there's a lot of money that was available to us at the federal level.
Okay, Jerry, we can find out more when Stacy gets here.
This is Makalea. I did want to add that the county does go after EDA grants. It's Economic Development Association or Administration. So if there's any ideas about going after any EDA grants, usually, we've been going after ones that are maybe $1 million. And so we can definitely talk about creating a proposal, and our EDA representative in Hawaii is really, really good. And I think it is a really big opportunity that we aren't tapping and getting a lot of funds. So definitely, if there's any ideas and interests, I can meet with you and we can go after those grants. So we know how to do it. We haven't. I think the county hasn't really gotten any recently, but yeah, definitely. Thank you, Jerry.
We've also, I just wanted to add to Makalea's comment. We've also added funding for within our Maui, the Hawaii HSAC project, and HSAC, our proposals, legislative package to the state. So I think if we could, in anticipation of federal infrastructure funds coming down, I mean, what we could do, what the group could also do is sponsor legislation at the state level. If we're anticipating infrastructural funds coming down from the administration, maybe we should be looking into whether it be water infrastructure or infrastructure for agriculture processing. And if we can find a state representative that can shepherd it at the legislature, that is another avenue that we can, the group can help support.
Barbara?
Yes, thank you. I was also
that would be awesome. And I think I've been working a lot on ledge stuff and drafting legislation, and one.
Thank you.
And it really doesn't take a second, but the last bill that I wrote with
okay, I'll just
1011 was
make a comment.
Barbara, I think she's in a car, so I don't think her reception is great. So she didn't know that you were talking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Go for it.
No, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was wondering if we could also look for grant funding for installing solar panels at the Kula Egg Park to run the pumps, because the electricity that it costs to pump the water to the farmers is one of their major costs. And since it's always sunny there, it just makes sense to draw on solar panels for that source of electricity. Thank you.
Wasn't Tina doing that next door?
I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
We can look into it.
Good question.
I think there is actually some funding mechanisms within the county we can explore. And then also we're doing energy savings performance contracting, which would be a really great opportunity for us to get solar at the ag park if we can't get it into this year's budget. So thanks for highlighting that. That's awesome. What I was kind of trying to speak to till I started my car and lost reception was that if we're talking about ledge, last year and a couple of years we did write a tax exemption bill for DoA or Colo farmers in general, and so it would give Colo farmers $100,000 exempt from state taxes. So it really promote DoA and Colo farming in general, and it would just and it's only at the state level for income taxes that would get waived, but I think it's a really good opportunity to start promoting agriculture and local agriculture without actually putting any money towards it. And so I can forward that to the group when we start ledge again this year, because I think it's a really good model for promoting agriculture, starting with taro farmers because it is our cultural crop, but also expanding that to local agriculture in general.
All right, mahalo, makalea.
Is there anyone else? Shane, do you want to finish up with anything?
Yep. Thank you, Jen, and mahalo for everyone's questions and comments. Gina had to leave, but we'll definitely follow up on your questions, and I'm sure it'll keep me up late at night trying to see how we can move it forward. Again, I'm hoping to finish up the water use development plan and then come back to you guys. And again, I can't do it by myself, but I see everybody on this list is already, potential Department of Agriculture directors in their own right. So I consider all of you guys, great resources, and I'm happy to address you guys and be part of this team. Mahalo.
Thanks, Shane. That's awesome.
Thank you, Shane. We know you have a lot on your plate, and I appreciate you taking the time to come present tonight and talk with the group. A lot.
Well, you guys, you guys keep us going too. So mahalo nui.
Hey, how about a big shout out for Jennifer? My gosh, thank you, Jennifer. You just keep on rolling. It's so awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you guys all are we couldn't do it without each other. So this is a group effort for sure. Okay, so on that, do we want to go back to the top priority projects, needs, and initiatives document and kind of start working on that? Did anybody have any comments, questions on anything with the mayor's thing that I touched on before Shane talked, or anything like that? Sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna grab the link to that again and put it in the chat so we can all look at it while we're working on it. So give me 1 second. Okay, so that's the link to the document. And so just for anybody that hasn't been here before, this is, we're not focusing on the grammar or punctuation or anything like that. This is a brain dump for things that need to be addressed first that can be considered like capital improvement projects, programs for the department to either initiate or collaborate with community partners on, or initiatives that they can take on that would make the most impact in the first 5 years. So I'm going to also share my screen for anybody that can't see.
Are we making edits to the document you marked up from Carrie, or we're just adding other?
So right now we're just adding stuff, and then from that we can go through, and as a group, some people are going to have similar things that they're going to want to put down. So we can go through as a group and kind of find ways to frame it that'll be inclusive, because the goal with this is to make the third and final survey for the community input on like what priorities, project initiatives can be put into a proposed strategic plan for the department, that we can also create a proposed first year budget to present as well. So these are the things that the community feels would make the most impact, that the department, that we're recommending the department focus on first, that would be supportive, that have the backing, and then that way the council can also see that when they go through their budget process as well. Does that make sense? Okay, so share this. Can you guys see this? It's kind of, oh, that's not good. Sorry. Sorry, I'm trying to, oh my gosh. Sorry, guys. There we go. Here we are. I apologize. I'm one of those people with like 900 things on their laptop all at once. So why don't we just take a few minutes? I can even, let's see, there's quite a few of us. Why don't we go ahead and do some breakout groups, and we can just read through. I'll give us maybe 20 minutes to read through what we have, discuss in the breakout groups what's on there, and start dumping more ideas on there. I know that the last time we had a meeting, people wanted to go back and talk with their networks and things about maybe more specific. I did reach out to, oh my gosh, I'm blanking right now. The farmer from Lanai, you guys help me.
Dave Embry.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you so much. For Lanai's priorities, but I haven't heard back from him yet. So I'm going to keep trying to touch base with him to see if we can get those. But if anybody else has a way to get a hold of him, would appreciate it too, so that we can get some feedback from him, because he works with, he was the recommended person from multiple people to be the representative from Lanai, but I know that he's been super busy. So I will go ahead and put us in breakout groups. But this is the document that you should have in the link. So just maybe at least one person be able to pull that up and type in what the group has, and then I can start the breakout groups now. I'm gonna do, I think there's about 20 of us, so I'm gonna do 4 breakout groups. Okay, so you'll get a link and it'll just put you in random breakout groups and you guys can start discussing there. Okay. So we'll be back at about 6:45. 35, sorry. Abigail and Shane, did you guys get a link? Shane?
I don't hear anything.
Sorry, do you guys want to get moved to another group? Because the other two people, I don't think that they're on right now. Do you guys want to be
Sure.
put in a bigger group? Okay, I didn't want to just move you without
Sure.
telling you. Sorry. Okay,
We'll leave this room, right?
I'm just gonna move you guys. So I'm
Okay.
gonna, okay,
I've never done one of these breakout groups.
no worries.
Research and development. Number 11. Have the-
Yeah, who is that? In the new Department of Ag, or where is that division, or where's research and development live?
It doesn't say. These are just notes from the last meeting. Just brainstorming from the last meeting, I think. I think they're going to be the new, have the research and development division develop and create a water system study.
So one of the things that we talked about was having like, I don't know if you would call it a division or whatever, but having a group within the department that focuses on research and development for the county issues, and they can also collaborate with other research institutions. So that's kind of what we were just calling it, the research portion of the department, if that makes sense.
Yeah, cool, thanks.
Can you hear me at all?
We can hear you. Yes.
Is there much background noise? I have some fans blowing on me. It's really hot. Is it okay?
Perfect. Can't hear the fans.
Okay. I'm thinking too something maybe that might be useful. So when I talk to a lot of my, a lot of local farmers, a lot of my buddies and friends, or even competitors, what's kind of one thing that always sticks out to me is a lot of them don't know the different.
Like
What was that, William?
she just wants us to like review it and add stuff or take off stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Jen, we cannot see the thing. I don't know if you can I don't know, maneuver it or whatever.
So Jennifer, I was trying to share a screen because William and Jerry can't pull it up. So I'm just.
Oh,
you
I
got
can
it.
pull it up.
You can
Yeah,
pull
I've
it up.
got it.
Okay, so William just can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah, so the only thing, we're not taking anything off. This is just a dump. So, even if you don't agree with it, leave it on. We're just adding to it, and then we can fine tune once we get there. You guys are good with the screen? Sorry.
I think, and just to clarify, I can just go ahead and put it like in the next box over, like not. But there's no way I can actually share screen, like so William could see it, like instead of me reading it out loud. Is there?
Let's see.
Yeah, if not,
probably could get it. Just hopeless. That's all it is.
Can you see that?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
I'll just chill in you guys' group and share my screen. Is that okay?
Sure, we can work with that.
Okay.
So you just went over 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? Jamie.
Yes, you mean in
Yeah.
terms of the blocks on Excel? Yep, you've got it.
Yeah,
Yep.
we-
So then
okay.
we were just talking about the yellow, the highlighted portion right there, that
Okay,
big
yeah, yeah.
chunk of language.
This is not just water then.
This section's focused, this little chunk right here is specific on water. Yeah.
Okay. So we're not going into infrastructure, or we're going through the whole thing?
I think we're going through the whole thing.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
going through the whole thing, but just taking it maybe piece by piece. So focus on water first.
Right.
If there's any like brain dumps we want to do on that, we can do that, and then we will move to infrastructure.
Okay.
So is there anything, and Jerry, I know you had a lot of comments about this earlier too, both you and William both did. Is there anything that you're seeing that we want to add to this language? Lauren, and I'm not definitely excluding you. Sorry, you know I'm not going to exclude you, but just
No, I
in
know.
general.
You know, the only thing I see when I read the highlighted part is it doesn't really talk about a balance between natural requirements in terms of watershed health and the needs for the agricultural community. It prioritizes the agricultural community, which is great for those of us as farmers, but of course, and ranchers. But we do have to have the health of our watersheds right up there as well. And that doesn't really seem to come out on that. That's at least how I read it.
That's a really good question. Is the verbiage right there working with the water department? I know it says to help prioritize agricultural activities. But
Right. And the way it sounds like it would be prioritize agricultural activities. And of course, we've been going through that for the last 100+ years, where agricultural activities in the Central Valley were prioritized over stream health and East Maui. So I just wonder if we need to add something in there that talks about creating more of a balance in terms of priorities for water access.
I think that's a great point.
I would like to see kind of like maybe I don't know what you call them, circle chart, whatever, as to the distribution of the water, because I think the domestic is really draining a heck of a lot off of the stream use and what was there. And I think excessively, and that's really drawing on both ag and the balance of the whole stream system, the health of the system. We got so much houses and parks and whatnot, and it scares me. It really does. So I would like to see kind of like a chart, percentages of where the water is going, really get an idea of who really needs to cut back.
Yeah.
So how would you like to word that? Like work with the data, like a chart?
Water use chart or something. I don't know what you call it. Like a distribution chart or something. I really don't know how to word it, but come on, Jerry, you know this stuff.
Yeah. It's kind of like what Councillor Fernandez asked, what the top 10 users were for water in Maui County, right?
Did she
I don't
get
know
it?
if you saw that. Did we get that through the Ag Working Group?
I'm not sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, in one day, the Grand Wailea uses the amount of water that we use in a year, or something ridiculous like that, right? So it was a tiered thing. So that information is all at the water department, and it would be really interesting to have a compilation of that, say for, because they have all the meter information, to be able to pull that together for the amount of domestic usage, agricultural usage in upcountry versus other areas, et cetera. I think it just puts a lot of it into perspective.
So if they have it, maybe review the whatever charts they have, information or whatever.
Yeah, they should be able to pull that together, I would think, pretty easily.
And they're accurate at it, not sliding any information.
Yeah.
So they do currently collect that at the water department. Usually like MECO has to report, some of the larger entities need to report their water usage, but it's really not made super public. And they usually just lump it in the water use and development plan into like commercial activity usage, current and proposed and things like that. So that is kind of in the what up, but it's not like broken down by who, like which hotel is using it and things to allow the community to see that transparency.
Yeah, that might be too transparent, but if in general, you know, the KAYLA, you know, in districts, that's kind of helpful.
Yeah, I mean, this is a little bit of a off-topic thing, but you know, I think Baldwin High School is either number 3 or 4 in the county in terms of water usage. And at least in the report I saw, it said that was because of their agricultural program. And I was scratching my head because I don't think they've got much of an agricultural program, but maybe William knows.
Yeah, no, not that I know of. They're pretty, very small.
Yeah, so I think they got some leaky pipes somewhere.
I mean, yeah.
Well, I would just say it's kind of interesting, you know, being on the look at you, like we don't have anything like Grand Wailea or anything like that to where like water use is high, but however we have to deal with the restrictions that come up when Maui, you know, when Maui Island has their restrictions, it falls on ours. So we get restrictions, ag water, even though like our island itself isn't designated using water in different areas, right? So our biggest water use actually probably is agricultural. However, our restrictions come from Maui. Like, so it's just interesting in this conversation, because in my mind, I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about the fact that because of what's happening there, you know, really our restrictions are coming from that standpoint. So that this would be extremely helpful to understand a little bit more and see.
Yeah, that's a great point, because you guys shouldn't have to pay the price for excesses that happen here on Maui.
No, you know, and it's because we're a zone county with you guys, right? So, and
right.
That's how that happens, fortunately or unfortunately in different circumstances, but yeah, it's just interesting to hear and see. So yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Glad you brought that up.
Is there anything else on the water piece? Just because how much time do we have, Jennifer? I'm going to be the timekeeper.
Like 15 more minutes.
Okay, so is there anything else? Should we keep moving through a little bit? We can always come back, right? But might as well try to kind of work through some of these, and if there's more burning issues, we can come back to the water issue.
Yeah, I'm good with that. We can move on.
Okay. Yes, it's my favorite. Infrastructure.
Okay, so I'm gonna scroll and you guys just tell me when to stop or slow down.
Is there a highlighted summary for this like there was for water?
So when we went through this a couple meetings ago, we got to water, and there was kind of a discussion of like, where does the reach in for the Department of Ag? And so because originally it was like, should we do another study? And it's like, oh my God, there's been so many studies. So we went through some of these and then not all of them. So it's still very much work in progress. I think we were talking about this one, the capital improvement projects, but it wasn't like solidified. We had agreed to break it down to this one and then also put in separate it for the commercial kitchens, and then also the USDA compliance and like what was it, the Not inspection, is it inspection or like, I'm so sorry. There was another thing that we were talking, oh, food safety and testing, sorry.
Yeah.
I think the food safety is in with the commercial kitchen.
There's
have-
two different kind of food safeties. Like, so you've got the farm food safety, right, and FSMA and all of that. And then you have like food safety with the Department of Health and Certified Kitchens. So I
Yeah.
think that the language with the farm part of it would be farm food safety versus just general food safety. And I think yeah, and product development in terms of kitchens.
Livestock is, again, different kind of requirements.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with like USDA inspection versus Department of Health inspections, so.
I wouldn't think that the item institutional purchasing and mandating a certain percent of local purchase would be necessarily part of infrastructure.
Is that, I guess that's sort of more like a hopeful
Yeah,
policy. It's more like dreamy policies.
Yeah, kind of was on the same mindset as Jerry when we were discussing that in the beginning.
Not that it's not important, but you're right, that's definitely more in the policy world rather than infrastructure.
Unless you need infrastructure to keep up with that demand, then that would be, because I mean, if you get on school contract, on military contract, that's huge.
Yeah, I think to meet those contracts, there would have to be some development of the infrastructure to even get to that point where we begin mandating. Because as of right now, the infrastructure is just not set up to mandate that. So that is something that working towards that, I think would be super beneficial and productive, but I think that's maybe why it was put in infrastructure. I don't know specifically, that's just kind of what I'm thinking.
Well, that makes sense because, for example, composting and organic matter diversion in Massachusetts, they needed to have, somebody wanted to come up with legislation that limited the amount of organic matter waste you could put into a landfill, et cetera, but they didn't have the infrastructure to make that happen. So they used the policy to drive the infrastructure development, and the policy kicked in when they actually had the infrastructure in place to make it a doable thing. So it's, instead of putting the cart before the horse, they actually made sure that they had all the infrastructure in place, and then they could say, you know, by the way, this is what the legislation is going to read. So yeah, institutional purchasing and mandating of a certain percent of local would be a policy, but it would be the end vision of infrastructure development that would allow that to be mandated at a state level, because currently, as everyone pointed out, we don't have that capacity.
So that's, from there, it goes on to research and development. Should I just scroll down to that, or you guys have more to add to this area?
I would say island-wide, like island for our island, like that's got a lot of the key points that are pretty important for Molokai.
Okay.
I'm comfortable personally moving on, but
I guess when I look at research and development, to create the capacity for research and development within the department, I would think that the department would be developing policy and then working with potential partners like CTAR, for example, or the Maui Food Innovation Center or something like that for the actual boots on the ground, shovel in the ground elements of R&D. Because they've already got a research and development people in those facilities.
So there's two kinds of research and development that we were talking about with the department. So that is research and development that they would collaborate with these institutions that you're talking about to make sure that the information that they're getting, the research that they're doing, help guide that, and also make sure that that is compiled on a comprehensive level and taken like across the board. But then there's also got to be like in-house research and development to develop the department and the continued efforts of the department. So like each year they have to, propose a budget. Each year, this what we're doing should ideally be done by the department. They should be going out, doing the research and development with the community, putting forward a strategic plan, putting forward a proposed budget, making sure that they have community feedback and doing that actionable, researching the actionable steps and costs and technology that needs to be implemented to reach those goals. That's not something that we can really rely on these outside institutions who are already strapped for funding to do. So when you think about research and development, when we're talking about within the department, it would be more county specific research and development to be developing the industry and protecting the environment. We're focusing on natural resource regeneration, but also collaborating with the existing research entities to, collect and collate the data that they're doing to put forward that information on like a more comprehensive, centralized database. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. Thank you.
Lauren, do you know the percentage that they did in that House bill that got passed?
Let me see. I think it's starting out at like 10%.
Okay.
And then the goal is.
That's just for state agencies then, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it says by January 1st, 2025, state departments must make sure that that 10% of the total produce they purchase consists of fresh local agricultural products, local value added processed agricultural food products. By the beginning of 2030, that percentage increases to 18% and then increasing every 5 years until it's up to 50% by 2050.
That is a lot.
It's
I mean,
kind of
that's good for farming.
No, it's super good. It seems to me a little bit slow, but I'm like, really? 2020, like that's awesome. But I'm thinking, couldn't we expedite that a little?
Definitely gotta secure water for ag. If you're gonna do
True,
it.
for that, right? Yeah, there's a lot of.
Yeah, so I mean, use
huge.
this to our advantage,
Yep, absolutely.
I
Thanks
don't
a
know
lot,
if Jen, you
Lauren.
wanna make a note somewhere about that in order to, what you call,
What was that? I'm sorry.
in, there's a House bill that was passed that, state agencies have to use percentage of ag products, ag whatever. So maybe add a little note in order to achieve this, we need to kind of secure some ag water to be able to produce.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. That wouldn't be in research and development, would maybe be in water somewhere. Or I guess research and development, yeah, because you gotta research it and develop it.
Like that. How do we begin to meet this goal?
Yeah.
Okay.
You wanna put the House bill number? She has it here. Ooh, what was it?
817.
7, yeah. Awesome. So you hunt legislation too, right on. Thanks for that. Perfect.
Yeah, for sure.
I think just the highlighted yellow looks good for me on the side, just because we just did a agricultural needs assessment for homesteaders, and the biggest thing that came up was that technical assistance. Like, yeah, a lot of us could use like grant funds and we're eligible for it, but who's got the time or the technical skills to write for it? So I think like having that available, and however form, that avocation or whatever is really wonderful to see.
Yeah, I think the technical assistance is one thing, but I think the county having somebody that can write blanket grants is going to be even more helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a good idea when you guys are thinking about, like, as we develop the strategic plan, this is kind of like the timeline that we should go, or like the ideal like detail that we should get into, like access to grant and available money. And then what does that look like? How many people does that actually look like to make sure that we're representing each island's needs? So that's, yeah, when we get more detailed, that's kind of where we're going to want to actually, like, that's how specific we're going to want to get. Right now, no, but.
Got it. Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, thank you for that clarification. I'm sorry, I'm very detail oriented, so thank you. Hard for me to see big picture sometimes.
No, for sure. I think it's good. It's like starting out big and then coming back in and then going back out to make sure you're meeting it, and then going back in is what we have to do. And that's, just developing that mentality. I'm gonna scroll down a little bit. You guys want to read and then start discussing? I'm going to jump to the other groups and see if they need more time, because we have about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And see if we want to push it till 7, just to let them discuss.
Okay. Thanks, Jay.
So you might not see my screen for a second, if that's okay.
Yeah. Let's see if we can pull up.
So Jamie can keep scrolling then. Should be able to.
Some of the grants I heard, they're looking for 20 or 30,000 head in 6 months. That's crazy numbers, and I don't think it's achievable. But
What was your guys' total deer you took out?
I'd have to go look. The grant just expired the end of July, and so we're gonna do like a follow-up closing meeting, and I'll go look. I'm kind of more in a supportive role in that group, because I farm. I don't have the time to go out and gallivant around and hunt as much as I used to, but I can go check.
So the aerial eradication next week, is that in the watershed?
That's up in the forest preserve. Yep.
That's real important. They're in the watershed. Those ungulates are, the Big Island just said that they're spreading the rapid ohia death. And we can't have them doing that. They need to stay out of the watershed. And
I totally agree. But we're just trying to get access, so like, I don't disagree with they're devastating for sure. The goats, the pigs, the deer, they're certainly devastating, but deer are kind of territorial, but also they roam a lot. So like we were getting permission in maybe 100 acres, and then the deer would just walk over to the next 100. So I don't know how effective it was, but it also is, it's kind of a blessing, and it's also a curse, because now that they're going to aerial shoot, and they're going to shoot 200, 300, 400 deer, and they're not going to collect them. So it's a hard one to, there's no clear answer on what to do. But I'd like, if the county's going to take a role in this, in a supportive role, I think maybe a way to revamp it, where the inspection process, like you were mentioning, is going to be simpler to collect. And even if it's not for human consumption, even if it's for food consumption, like we reached out to the Honolulu Zoo. We pay a lot of money, taxpayer money, to feed those animals at the zoo. And why don't we just give them deer meat? I don't know. You'd be surprised how much money the zoo spends on bringing in meat. So
that's a great idea. My family shoots deer and cooks it and feeds the dogs deer. Some of them get raw, some of them get cooked. And I thought it was Kalua pig one night. Oh, yummy.
Yeah, right. But access is an issue. Landowners don't want people on their land, and I get it.
Yeah. Well, some of us have gotten a cow shot or a goat shot, and the horses run into fences and they get hurt. Some of these guns are so loud, they're like cannons. The animals get upset. We have the cows calving, the calves get excited, they start running, they fall into the gulches, we lose animals. It's really hard, you know. Not everybody
sure.
Mayan experience, you know, these city slickers come up there with their guns, they got their hunter safety card, but they're not to animals and the terrain, you know, and they just get so excited.
You guys, do you guys want to have more time to go over this? I'm checking with the other group I came from did. They would like till at least 7. Is that okay with you guys?
To be honest, I don't think we put a whole lot into the spreadsheet. We kind of just been a little bit. We've been putting some in there.
That's fine. That's fine.
Probably need
Are
some
you
more
guys
time.
okay? Perfect. Thank you.
For the topic on deer, it would be a great for grad students. What they can use radio tracking.
Coming up.
Hey, there she is. We were just talking about you, Jennifer.
Jennifer, welcome back.
Hey, the other groups want till 7. Is that okay with you guys? Or you guys?
We got
done?
sidetracked.
Okay.
No, I thought we got some good stuff down. Barbara probably took notes.
Okay.
But we talked about composting, and we talked about, again, the ag park and using solar to start to create some long-term plans. We talked about storing water at altitude so that it was sustainable instead of pumping.
Yeah,
And-
also, if we're going to talk about like distribution, especially if we're putting in more storage, putting turbines to generate electricity would also be a wonderful thing.
Awesome, awesome.
Yes.
Solar drive the engines they already have to pump. They
Yeah,
have engines they don't use.
Yeah, in Portland, they've put turbines, electrical generating turbines in all of their distribution channels, and they've minimized so much need for, you know, fossil fuel and things like that. So looking at those things, you guys are awesome. I'm sorry about my voice, and thank you.
No, don't worry.
Okay.
So we can put enough solar in to drive the pumps to pump water. They've got enough water. They just don't have. They don't want to run their pumps. They think they're afraid of having an electrical bill. Got that straight from the director of water. And then Representative Kyle said it's cheaper to pump than it is to build more storage.
But the thing is, if we had pipes in our sewer drains, in our, you know, like everything, we wouldn't need any, we wouldn't need any electricity.
Right.
Yeah, and it could support.
We'd be generating it.
housing.
You mean a strategic plan? Yes.
Okay. So you guys are good till 7. It's about 12 more minutes, and then we'll jump back.
Sure.
Okay, you guys are awesome. Thank you.
I was just gonna sign off. I'm getting hungry. I think we nailed it. What a great group. Gary,
I think
great.
it's just basic for the 4 things. The solar turbine, the composting. I also talked about making sure soil testing was done, because we really don't know what the new ag park has been, you know, what the soil's like there.
Is this just ag park focused, or is this for the whole county?
The whole county, but one was specifically at the ag park, because we were thinking water, solar, and compost and soil testing for the ag park would really be beneficial. If we could figure out how to get those together.
Okay. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna jump to either group. So if you guys are done, you guys can take like a 10-minute break before we pull back in. Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you
Okay.
guys.
Factors.
Sorry, that was me. I was typing it in as
Oh,
we're
you were.
talking.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks, Lauren. Oh, never mind. So Lauren was typing it in, so thank you. I was like, oh, other groups are like brain dumping the same thing that we're talking about. Sorry, I'm a little bit slow. It's been a really long day. So I'm glad you're getting those notes down. I really appreciate that, Lauren. And then I guess, is there anything else on this topic that we want to address before we move on to, hey, Jennifer, how much more time do we have? You're on mute.
About 10 more minutes.
About 10 more minutes. Okay. And then are you with us for that 10 minutes? And if you are, can you share screen? And if not, no big deal.
Yes. I just wanted to check in with the other groups.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry. Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah, popped up now.
Am I scrolling down for you guys?
Yeah, if you can scroll down past, like, just past the deer, I think we're wrapping up that conversation about invasive species. Is there anything else besides the deer issue for you guys that's not on here that we want to highlight? If not, we could probably move right on to education.
I have a question. I just
Yeah.
want to put it forward. At what point does the community like have a general consensus of like you lost the battle with an invasive species? Is that forever ongoing? Do we continue to use taxpayer money to fight something that we have lost the battle on? Is that something that we want to bring up? Is that something we don't? I just throwing
It
that
does happen.
out there.
It does happen, and a good example is fireweed, where they were putting money into it, and they've retracted every bit of it, even release of biological insects. As far as the raising and propagating of it, and then distributing it out, that's gone. CTAR isn't doing any of that anymore. And there was a little program for buying chemical spray to spray for farmers, or more ranchers, because farmers spray their crops pretty much. But that is one example, like you said, of an invasive species that they've pretty much given up on, although it is here. So it does happen. I don't know how often, but
Well, it almost feels like they've given up on the deer too, because the amount of work required to bring the deer into a manageable population is beyond the scope of what anyone in the government is talking about. And that the tables have turned so that endangered species now have to include most of the ranchers that live on this island because they can't compete with the deer.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I know here, like a lot of initiatives are really focusing, we feel like we've lost the battle, but so what we're looking at is like infrastructure in terms of fencing. And I know it's a little bit different in terms of ranching, but working with a lot of our smaller farmers, like how can we provide, because a lot of them don't have fencing or adequate fencing. And so looking at that in ways to work with the invasive species, rather than thinking that we're going to get rid of the deer. It's more of like, okay, so they're here. So now what? So what's a proactive step? How do we use them, not to our advantage, but how do we look at this in a way that we can not see it as a problem, but what are the solutions?
So like a threshold to transition from eradication to management.
Yes, and I think thank you. And that is the language actually, and I keep hearing over, and even with our livestock, the guys that we work with at our livestock co-op, it's really more like, it's the language that they use over and over is now about management. Like what is the management protocols, right? And so I think that is really the language we can start looking at.
The biggest problem now in Maui, probably going to happen on Molokai too, but they're venturing off into the housing areas and the airport. So, as the concern gets closer to more the population, the problem is being addressed, the more so, like, and so that's kind of where we're at right now. So it does have the focus, so they're kind of bringing it back around again. And see, because it's just so overpopulated that their grazing areas are grazed up. So they're looking for more. They got the freedom to look everywhere.
You guys have anything else for invasive species? Education is looking slim on ideas, but it was one of the top rated areas of need.
I think the emphasis on that was to, like it says here, getting it into the K to 12 programs and not forgetting about it. Where where your cucumber comes from or where your beans come from. It doesn't grow in bags.
Yep.
At the beginning of this department, as it's established, do you guys think it would be helpful to have educational programs to start discussing what the department will actually be doing, where people can go for resources to help, those kinds of things, like policy that they want to educate people on. If we work at doing a new like streamlined permitting process, would that be part of the education show? Like, would there be campaigns to promote awareness of what the department's working on, what needs to be addressed? Like, would there be continuing education, like such as groups like this, to work with groups to promote education and, help bridge those channels? Are those things that you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Maybe we gotta define education a little bit more. I mean, it's unlimited. I mean, even education on, kind of touched on it, like with the planning department. And, how do we learn their requirements for us to even do employee housing with only a 5/8 meter? And then they go, oh, you don't have enough water, so you can't build it. So, I mean, education, there's no limits, yeah, really.
But there is no limit, but we'll have to focus on what will make the most impact in the first 5 years. Unfortunately, I wish that we could just say education broadly, but we're going to see what the administration, I hope it's not too bad, but they're going to want to scale back as much as possible. So the more specific we are about the things that we really want to see, okay, like, so for example, agricultural theft, vandalism, and liability were huge needs within the ag sector. And when we talked about that, after we talked about that, what it really boils down to is having that education with the Maui Police Department and prosecuting attorney for them to take those things seriously, because these are businesses.
Yeah.
So is that a specific thing that we want at education on? Is education on how water is being used? Is that something like, these are the things that we need to put down, like very specific? And I don't want to just feed them all to you guys, because I do want it to come from what you guys think is going to be the most impactful.
I think a lot of the education that is underneath the heading of education came from Lane Huff. And I think she's got a lot of things between her and Grow Some Good. They're really getting a lot of stuff done. And when, William and I were with the Farm Bureau, we were kind of on the entry level of trying to get education into second graders and into schools. And that's evolved by leaps and bounds now. And I would think that from the department perspective, certainly that the department acting as a voice to educate legislators, the counselors, about what agriculture actually is, the planning department, all these sorts of things, but also educating the public about what the Department of Agriculture does and does not do. I think that's going to be right up front, because I was talking to someone today saying that, I had to be home early because I had this meeting with the Department of Agriculture. And he said, well, that's just a bunch of bullshit. And, we don't need more regulations and laws and stuff like that. And I said, well, that's not what it's all about. But he's convinced that it is, because he said any department that the county creates has to have rules and regulations, and it's in the charter. And he said he'd help work on the charter and all that kind of stuff. So I think we would need to educate the public about what the Department of Agriculture actually is going to do. And that would be a big step forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The propaganda campaign they did against the department really stuck with a lot of people. And it was super unfortunate, but you have to understand when people are already weary of government, they've already been attacked and had to deal with all of the repercussions of the current system. To hear anything else is kind of just like, yeah, sure, they don't believe it. So I understand the hesitancy. So I agree that that's going to be a huge educational need for the public, especially like the older farmers that have been putting up with like BS for so long, you know?
Yep, agreed.
Okay, you guys, this document is open. So saving the link, going and adding stuff at any time is okay. I'm gonna go back to the bigger group so that we can kind of put any questions or comments out there before we wrap up for the evening. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jen.
I think the only thing I was going to add to the whole education piece. Oh wait, never. We're breaking out, and that's okay. I can add it in the document.
You got 55 seconds. Sorry.
I'll go really fast, but it's just like I said, we just finished up this needs assessment in the community, and one of the things we touched on was education, and it was really trying to figure out like how do we promote the intergenerational knowledge like at the keiki level, and then how do we bring it all the way up to like why is funding getting cut at the university level for our ag programs, right? So that terms of education, like looking at programs and why funding is getting cut, why that's not a priority in terms of ag programs.
Absolutely.
So I was going to add that piece to it, and I think we're good. I can write in there some stuff.
Yeah, this is open. So if you guys have time within the next week or two to add stuff, just just sit down, and if you have 20-30 minutes, do that. I'm going to say that to the bigger group too. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you.
How are you guys doing? Okay, so I'm not sure if you guys got through all of it. The last group I was in definitely didn't. So I just wanted to take the last few minutes of the meeting here to go over any questions, concerns, but then also say this document is open. It's live at any time with that link. You can access it. Adding in stuff, you don't have to get permission to add in stuff. Add in whatever you want. The more information that we have as a group, it's better to kind of narrow down what's going to make the most impact in the first 5 years. And I'm thinking putting forward around 10 to 15, things to the community to also prioritize is probably around what we'll do, but there's no like limit. Giving them as many choices to weigh on is always beneficial. So yeah, being as specific as possible or even broad, just to be able to bring it back to the group later to have them help get more specific if you're having trouble getting specific is also okay. Because we are going to go over this whole thing as a group to get it kind of narrowed down on language. Does anybody have any comments or questions or want to bring up anything that their group went over or talked about? No, good.
No, I would just say it was really helpful to actually have the breakout session. In terms of this, it was nice to be able to break it down into smaller groups and talk.
Yeah, how does everybody else feel about the breakout sessions? I personally really like them because I feel like it's more conducive to have conversations, and I feel like people feel a little bit more ease to speak in a group of 4 or 5 people rather than 15 or 20.
Yeah, I think they're great.
Okay, yeah, I don't want anybody to feel like they don't have the floor at the larger group either. Okay, so yeah, we still have the second survey and first survey are still open. The first survey, I think the group was pretty happy with the responses, over 340 responses. The second survey is just really struggling. We got 2 more responses since the last meeting. So any way that we can continue pushing that. I mean, the response rates are really great. The approval rating is really great for what we put forward, but I'm always like, the more feedback, the better. That's just how I see things. So any way we can push that survey, I'm gonna get templates to start putting that into a legislative draft ordinance and working on that. If anybody wants to work on with that with me, it's not a super complicated process, but I'd be open to having anybody work on that with me if you want to learn the process. This is something that I would like. I learned working at the county, and I think it is just such a great skill to be able to package proposed legislation to put forward, because as you can see, the council members, they're actually supposed to only work every other week. They're considered part-time, and the amount of things that they deal with is it's pretty like large scale, very broad. So for the ability for them to sit down and package legislation sometimes is difficult. They don't have a lot of that time. So empowering our citizens to learn that skill is basically something that lobbyists have been doing for decades, and that's how they get so much legislation pushed through and how all these laws and things happen. So if anybody's interested, I'm happy to like share that information and go through it. Yeah. Okay. So I will grab that template, and then maybe next time we can, you know, kind of just show the process on that, and then also get back to this. So in the meantime, adding whatever you want to this, you know, being as specific as possible, reaching out to friends, sharing this link with friends. I don't mind this, you know, anybody can add to this. This is a community process. So just, you know, reiterating, you know, as much feedback as possible is amazing. I know that's not everybody's stance, and people think I'm crazy for that much transparency, but I believe it helps. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, at the risk of raising a controversial flag or something, have we sent this to the Farmers Bureau and the Farmers Union to distribute to their members?
I have sent the links. So when I send out the email, it's like over 120 people that I send it to and ask them to share with their networks.
Okay.
Whether they do it or not, I don't know.
Okay. Well, Nathaniel sent it to the Farm Bureau. Yeah.
I can add to that. So 2 days ago, we had a board meeting for the statewide Farm Bureau and all the executive members. I asked them, so this is Maui County, it's not Hawaii County or Honolulu County. So I did ask them though to start broadcasting to those, you know, their constituents or any friends of friends that are, you know, in the canoe district. So I don't think I sent them the first survey. I'd have to look, but they have the second one. And then I'm actually kind of sharing what we go over here with them. So it's still early. It's only been 2 days. I haven't got any feedback yet, but I would expect, you know, they're going to certainly start looking into this more.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what we want.
To send to the Farm Union.
I'm sorry, what, Gary?
I'll take an action item to send it to the Farmers Union with the same caveats.
Okay, yeah, I know the HANA chapter did for
Scott.
sure, Sarah. Yeah, but and Reba is on the email list for this, as well as a few other HANA chapter members, not as Haleakala chapter members, and also Westside. But yeah, this is what it is. You guys, if you know these groups, if you have outlets, networks to share it with, please do, because this is, you know, it really is a grassroots thing, and the more grass you have, the stronger the roots, right? So
there's another meeting coming up too in the beginning of the second week of September, I think. It's the Molokai Irrigation Water Users Advisory Board. It makes up non-homestead and homestead water users. So I'll be presenting a little bit on what we're doing here. So it may be too late, but at least we get some more data from people who are actually using water for agricultural purposes.
That's wonderful.
How about the Haiku Community organization and other local organizations? There's probably one in Kula and, you know, Kihei, Lahaina.
One in Pukalani.
So the Haiku Community Association, I believe, did share it. They follow us on social media too, because I post it on social media. And I believe they did share. I don't know if they're sharing it within their networks. And to be honest, you guys, like with working and this, I'm doing my best. So if anybody wants to reach out to them, like I would greatly appreciate appreciate any networks you can get it to. And both surveys are online on that MauiFoodSecurityNow.com website. So they can still access both of those surveys. They're open, still collecting data. And then also I put up the previous meetings. I finally figured out how to establish a YouTube channel, upload all of the meetings, and then link that with the website. So all of our meetings are up. So I'm trying to keep up with it, but any help that I can get, I'm open to it, thankful, and any networks that we can push that to is perfect. The more input, the better.
A quick shout out to Gary. Thank you for the opportunity for the Maui Economic Development Board. That's I had my first meeting with them. It's an impressive group. There's some heavy hitters in that group. They do a lot of good for the community. So I'm pretty excited to see how that kind of plays out. So thank you.
Wow.
Anything else? I guess we can wrap up. Like, if you guys don't have anything else.
I like the ability to be able to go in and add things in without needing just to update it all right at the moment. So, I mean, anyone can do that, or is that just something that is on that link that you posted?
Yeah, no, anybody can do that. All we ask is that they don't delete anything. So all of the spreadsheets that we've done throughout the progress, I keep. If something major gets deleted and I can see people have went in and deleted it, there is an option for me to restore previous versions. So we can always get it back if somebody is trying to be malicious. I hope that nobody would, but we do have that ability. If you end up accidentally, sometimes I will just like hit enter and it will delete what was there. That reverse tab, if you click outside the box that you're on and hit the reverse tab, it'll automatically bring back whatever you accidentally deleted. So yeah, just as long as nobody's like changing anybody's words on there or deleting anything, anybody can add to it.
So you posted the link on it earlier. I took a picture of it because there was I couldn't switch over because I was on my phone, but the link seems to be missing. Is there a way to get the link? Just text it to me or something, or
are you on your computer right now or you're on your phone? Yeah, I can
yeah, I'm on I have my laptop open and my cell phone.
Yeah, I can because I don't think you were on the email, so I can text, I can email it to you or text it to you, but for the rest of the group, the email was in the last, the link is in the last email too. And then I can send it again with this follow-up as well.
Great, thank you.
I have, I guess, one more question. I don't do agendas and meetings just because it's been a lot. I just do the follow-up email. Is that okay with everyone? Okay. I was like, I'm not a fan of Robert's Rules of Order. This is a lot. So as long as you guys are good with it. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care of yourself. Feel better, Jennifer.
Thank you guys all so much. I appreciate your time and energy and all of your amazing input and just everything that you guys do for the community as well. So thank you guys. I'll stay on a little bit after the meeting if anybody doesn't or needs to talk that they didn't feel comfortable, like always. And other than that, you guys have a wonderful week. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Jennifer, feel better.
Thank you.